Alright guys, welcome to our 32nd entry of Dear Mama. The entry runs from page 111 to 113. That is exactly 4 pages. So we are going to read it, and after that we will be in for our discussion. So welcome, I hope you're fine. And as we move on with Dear Mama, please reflect on your gains. What have you learned? What can you remember? What can you apply in an exam when it comes to understanding? Rather, we can talk about knowledge and application as well as appreciation. What values do you appreciate in this book? When it comes to application, what aspects can you really do? Like, can you analyze characters? Are you able to give us the stylistic devices in details and illustrate, Are you able to comment on stylistic devices and let's say the synopsis, characters, and characterization, among other things? So as we move through the several entries that are remaining, remember that's our focus based on the CBC curriculum. I hope that by now you understand a lot about KOMBANI. You also understand a lot about what this book in particular is made of in terms of stylistic devices, because it's a unique text. For the first time, it is the first autobiographic, or rather memo book, to be introduced in secondary schools, senior secondary. So thank you so much for those who are subscribing. Every day we get a new subscriber, and we actually urge you to share as much as possible. The students in this country are so many. I know that this English is compulsory while literature is optional. But what I understand is that the number cannot be too small, So welcome. And also scholars who are interested in the area of memos and autobiography. It's high time we come on ground and discuss. Of course, I am not a master of everything. I am not a know-it-all teacher. I always encourage even students to challenge me, fellow scholars to do the same. So as we go by this, I am open to receive new ideas from you. So let me expect more people to subscribe, more people to like, more people to view, because as you do that, that is the support we get, and it encourages us to keep going. All right, so let's turn our camera to the text. All through we'll be focusing on the text so that you are able to see what I'm talking about. We will start with reading, go to reflection, and then synopsis and characterization, themes, and stylistic devices. Stay tuned till the end. This part again. 8th June 2020. Dear Mama, the following Monday, I went to the recruiting company's office. In my mind, I knew it was all in vain. They had unequivocally told us that if we missed the interview slot, we should consider the opportunity lost. But Shibi had prevailed upon me to try. As usual, he used his "what do you have to lose" phrase. The secretary's face turned into a frown when I explained my story. Sorry, young man, there is nothing we can do for you. There are too many candidates, and if we entertain any of those stories, we will open a floodgates that we can't handle. I returned my documents into the folder. She did not even want to see the Garissa Hospital discharge slip I had brought to support my case. Just then, the telephone rang, and I waited for her to finish the call so that I could thank her, regardless. I am sorry, but we cannot allow any excuses, she said into the receiver perched between her head and neck while using both hands to rummage through some documents. The instructions were clear. If you are late, forget about the opportunity. I thanked her, and just as I was about to leave, she called me back. What did you say your name was? She looked through the pile of files on the desk behind her. The person slotted for the interviews in the next 5 minutes will not be making it. You may as well go in if you are ready. Of course, I said I was ready. The interview focused more on my extracurricular activities than my academic prowess, so I had a chance to showcase what we had accomplished at Kenyatta University Traveling Theatre. By the way, which bank are you recruiting for? I had another candidate inquire at the reception afterwards. Standard Chartered, the secretary replied. I was intrigued. Standard Chartered evoked many memories of Molo. Would it be possible to work for such a prestigious organization? When I returned to Kenyatta University, I found a busy schedule. Professor Mbogo was adapting Carcasses as a screenplay in Kiswahili. He needed me to review his work and ensure it remained faithful to the original play. Born Free liked the screenplay that we sent and moved fast towards production. Now that I knew the company I had interviewed to join, I switched to research mode. By the time I was called in for another interview, this time to be held at the bank by the officials. I knew a great deal about Standard Chartered. There were two gentlemen on the panel. Right after they asked the usual "tell us about yourself" question, one of them asked, "As you now know, the role of interviewing for is at Standard Chartered. What do you know about us?" They seemed impressed when I shared the story of the bank's founding in 1969 through the merger of two banks, Standard Bank of British South Africa and Chartered Bank of India, Australia, and China, which was originally established in 1853. I even mentioned a number of automated teller machines the bank had in Kenya and listed over 10 branches. Towards the end of the interview, they asked whether I had any questions for them. I had two. My bachelor's degree was in education, English and literature, and I had no knowledge of banking. What were my chances of making it in the bank? The role we are hiring for does not require qualifications in banking. One of the interviewers smiled. If you make it, you will be surprised to know that many of our top performers do not have any banking background. One of my team members has a degree in agricultural engineering. As an organization, we look at attitude more than anything else. His partner chimed in. We can build the skills and knowledge, and so long as the employee has the right learning attitude, they will succeed. In any case, the fact that you have come this far in the hiring process indicates that you have many of the qualities we are looking for. That was comforting. As said on my profile, I'm also a writer and a thespian. Will the bank allow me to continue with my extracurricular activities? Certainly. In fact, one of our values is creativity. We do not have any objection to have activities outside of the bank. If you succeed, please let us know. We will need to review these activities to avoid conflicts of interest and ensure their continuation. I knew then that this was an organization I would enjoy working with. If I succeeded, your loving son, Kombani. So guys, the reflection here is the interview. Remember, Kombani had missed on the interview as a result of having traveled to Dadaab and encountering a situation that led to his convulsion. However, when he comes for an interview, when he's about to leave, he's called back and sits for the interview, and of course, there are prospects that he may get the job. When we come to the synopsis, colleagues, students, and scholars, what we observe from this is that a Monday after the encounter at Dadaab, we see Kombani being encouraged by Shibi to go for the interview regardless, because there is nothing to lose after all. Of course, when he goes there, the secretary frowns upon everything and discourages him, saying that they'll not listen to him. However, one of the candidates who is supposed to be interviewed in the next 5 minutes misses, and therefore they tell him to go in. When Kombani gets to the interview panel, he realizes that most of the questions are about the co-curricular aspect more than, his other knowledge. Now, of course, he tells us that at Kenyatta University, remember they used to go to the Department of Creative Arts. Professor Mbogo is very busy doing lots of things, especially with the adaptation of Carcasses into Kiswahili language. And he is able to help him, and they make it to embrace the target company born free. We also learn through this entry that KOMBANI goes for the third interview, and after knowing which company was interviewing him, he researches a lot about the background of the company, when it started, its achievement, its branches, and on responding as much in the interview, people are impressed, or rather the panel. They also come about, he also decides to ask them how he will fit in the bank with the bachelor's of education instead of banking, and they assure him that most talented workers are not from banking as such, as long as he has the right attitude to learn. We also realize that he is interested to continue with his thespian and writing aspects, and they encourage him that is encouraged because the organization believe in creativity. Now let's come back to character and characterization. Fellow colleagues, students and scholars, I think I find it wise to begin with KOMBANI, the main character. And KOMBANI is loving, your loving son, KOMBANI, as written on page 113. We also realize that KOMBANI is actually very obedient. When Shibi encourages him to go for the interview because he will not lose anything, he does go. Even though he is very pessimistic, we can give him the character trait of being pessimistic, because he is not going because he will make it. According to the first paragraph on page 111, KOMBANI says, I knew it was all in vain. They had unequivocally told us that if we missed the interview slot, we should consider the opportunity lost. We also see on page 112, is it 112 really? I think it's 113. When after the third part of the interview, he asks the panel whether he will fit in without knowledge of banking. So that is being pessimistic. Then we can say he is confident, because regardless of everything, when he's asked if he's ready promptly, he says he is and goes in, and he shows them his performance in the co-curricular field. His confidence is also shown on page 113 when they ask him if he can ask any questions, and he says he has two questions. One is about his place, like how he would fit in the bank, and then the second question, whether they would allow him to continue with extra curricular activities. He is very open also and frank, candid, because he is genuinely showing that he does not think he fits in the bank without qualifications. He also genuinely shows that he's doing some things outside the target work they are giving him, that is thespian and writing. We realize that he's devoted or hardworking. From the interview, he goes straight to Creative Arts Department at Kenyatta University. He finds a busy schedule. He finds Professor Mbogo, who is adapting Carcasses as a screenplay in Kiswahili, really working, and he joins him to work on the review to ensure that everything is faithful to the original play. And indeed, they make it. We also realize that he is very humble and courteous. Very humble and courteous. On page 111, after being frowned upon by the secretary, and she has told him, sorry young man, there is nothing we can do. When this lady is making a call, after the telephone rings, he waits. He waits so that he can thank her regardless. How many people can do that? It's rare. And when she finishes making a call, he actually appreciates and is about to leave, just to be lucky enough to be called back. I think those are character traits for KOMBANI. We can talk about Shibi. Shibi is supportive. Remember, they had applied for the job, all of them. Only KOMBANI was called. but he's here encouraging Kombani to go for the interview, even if he missed. We can also see Professor Mbogo is very devoted. He has a very busy schedule. He's adapting his English play into screenplay in Kiswahili. And he focuses until the play is received well by Born Free. Now let's go to thematic concerns. The first thematic concern we can see here is education. We can see that Shibi and Kombani are operating within Creative Arts Department of Kenyatta University. On page 112, we can see that Kombani is showcasing his achievements at Kenyatta University Traveling Theatre. We can also see the adaptation at Kenyatta University of Carcasses from English to Kiswahili play. We realize determination is coming out. This determination is out of Shibi, Professor Mbogo, and it's transferred to Kombani, because at first he didn't believe he can fit in the bank, but they push him and he goes for the interview. They also make him work on the screenplay and it accomplishes. We actually see, can we say, I don't think, I've never seen the theme of luck, but let's see here. I think we have creativity. The fact that Kombani is sharing that he's on page 113, that he is writing, you know, and the company, which is Standard Chartered, acknowledges that and says we really value creativity. Okay? Yeah. Now let's get to stylistic devices, guys. On stylistic devices, I always begin with the epistolary mode. This entry is in letter form. Okay? It has all qualities of letter. Away from that, we have direct address. Shibi asks, what do you have to lose? Then we have the secretary saying, sorry, young man, there is nothing we can do for you. There are too many candidates, and if we entertain any of those stories, we will open the floodgates that we can't handle. Again, on page 111, we see another direct address. I am sorry, but we cannot allow any excuses. The instructions were clear. If you are late, forget about the opportunity. Then, what did you say your name was? Then we see dialogue. By the way, which bank are you recruiting for? I heard another candidate inquire at the reception afterwards. Standard Chartered, the secretary replied. Then we have direct address. Tell us about yourself. As you now know, the role you are interviewing for is Standard Chartered. What do you know about us? Then on page 113, I don't know whether we can consider this as dialogue or direct address, though Kombani, yeah, there is direct dialogue and direct address. Dialogue below, they were comforting. As said on my profile, I am also a writer and thespian. Will the bank allow me to continue with my extracurricular activities? Certainly. In fact, one of our values is creativity. We do not have any objection to have activities outside of the bank. If you succeed, please let us know. We will need to review these activities to avoid conflicts of interest and ensure their continuation. That is page 113. Direct address on top. The role we are hiring for does not require qualifications in banking. One of the interviews smiled. If you make it, you will be surprised to know that many of our top performers do not have a banking background. One of my team members has a degree in agricultural engineering. As an organization, we look at attitude more than anything else. We can build the skills and knowledge, and so long as the employee has the right learning attitude, they will succeed. In any case, the fact that you have come this far in the hiring process indicates that you have many of the qualities we are looking for. So that is direct address. Then there is irony. When we look at page 111, KOMBANI was quite pessimistic about ever being considered by the company. Yet, on going for the interview, someone misses and he gets an opportunity to be interviewed, and he goes through the second process and even reaches the third level of that. Again, it's ironical that KOMBANI has applied for this job all through and is not so sure that he can be considered. He even asked the panel how he can fit in with his degree in education, English and literature. Yet the hiring panel tells him most performing workers in the company are not even, do not have even a banking background. They are just people who are ready to learn with the right attitude of learning. So that is, it's also ironical that the secretary had frowned upon KOMBANI, yet someone misses for the interview and he is interviewed, hence secures the position. I think I forgot the character trait of KOMBANI as being intelligent and research averse, because come on, like he heard about Standard Chartered and he quickly knew that in case of another interview, they would want to know details about the bank. So he finds out about the establishment of the bank, how it came about, the achievements, the branches. So that was a very smart move to take as a person looking for a job. So unless otherwise, I think I've covered that. Let's meet in another entry. Bye-bye for now. We will be meeting in another entry just soon. Bye-bye.